Okay. Do we want to wait a little bit or start chatting? I'm not in a hurry.
All right, I'll just say that I posted the link in that group chat we had
Okay.
that included whoever.
It included James and Catherine.
James, yeah,
And Catherine can't come.
Elizabeth, Ron, Eric. That's all I see in here. That was in that chat.
Yeah, I sent a messenger to lots of people, but I didn't want to do a
Oh,
group
good.
message just in case it was too much. So.
Oh, you did already. Oh, okay.
Oh, but not the link. Sorry, not the link. I put the link
Okay.
on the original post.
Yeah, yeah, I
In the
saw that.
comments of the original post. So.
I can send a message to James if that is any good.
Oh, sure.
Not in there.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
I mean, this was very last minute, so I just figured let's just try it. Bruce, are you in New Mexico?
I'm in New Mexico,
Oh,
Albuquerque.
okay. Albuquerque. Okay. Nice.
Take a look.
Right. We have really nice winters. Like we have 12 months of bike riding here.
Oh,
But the West is in a cold stretch. We're going to have below average for the next 10 days. But cold is relative also.
yes. Yes.
Somebody told me there's no bad weather, there's only bad clothing.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
And Felicity, you're not in the US West or East or
West. Yeah.
Oh, you
in
are?
Perth. In Perth, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the US West.
No.
No, Australia.
No, but my daughter's actually in LA at the moment, in that West, saying how it's very similar to Perth. It's just a different ocean.
I didn't want to make a guess on your accent and get it wrong and be insulting or
That's okay.
So I teased it out of you.
You did very well. You could have got New Zealand or UK. Easy to confuse.
Mhm.
It's just fish and chips. It's the chips that gives it away. The New Zealanders say fish and chops, and we say fish and chips.
Do you get tired of people telling you how adorable it is?
Oh, it's lovely. We do get told that. Yeah. Oh, it's nice. Thank you.
Well, from our perspective.
My ear just hears it's all one accent, really. I don't notice it, but I guess for you it stands out.
Yes.
I hear another Australian amongst all of you, I wouldn't really notice it.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting, because I think because our media and we hear in Hollywood movies and we get so much American culture. And I think our actors are very good at, our Australian actors are very good at imitating American accents.
Yes.
Too, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to have a bad accent.
I remember that kid some years ago on YouTube who could imitate like 25 English accents, most of them UK. That was just outrageous.
How do you quickly switch is my question.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
And if you want to watch a funny sketch, check out the SNL sketch on the British crime drama.
SNL.
Saturday Night Live. Sorry.
Oh, SNL.
Saturday Night Live. It's hysterical.
I'll check it out.
I mean, I can't quote any of it here.
Yeah. while we're filling time, I'll tell you, I uh, got turned on to two things over Christmas break. I got to play with a couple of friends, um, and a blind stride pianist, which is really interesting guy. But my buddies uh, found a youth jazz group from Portugal, and these kids are, some of them are 8, 9 years old. Most of them are a little bit more high school age. They're uh, it. I can't tell you how good they are at improvising jazz. It's ridiculous. I got to find out what's going on that he's getting these kids to such a high level in improvisation. I wish I played as well as these 10-year-olds.
I think I've come across them, but I don't remember the name of it.
Crazy.
It's, you know, I mean, it's a school, right?
Yeah.
But one amazing teacher is responsible for
Yeah.
all
I
that.
Yeah, I'll find a YouTube link and I'll post it.
Please do, yeah.
Yes, that would be great.
It's extraordinary. And then the other thing, I forget how I got turned on to this. There's a 1.5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and you piano teachers would know.
Oh,
And
yeah, who's
I'm
like,
trying to get in. Yeah, he's more than imitating,
oh, yeah, yeah.
which is a little bit crazy. With his sister, having him on his lap, and she plays, all the Russian composers, I think, mostly, right? That's what I heard. He's I'm trying to get in touch with him because I'd really like to have a conversation. And I had Natasha help me with translation
Ah.
from Russia.
Right.
The little picture that would be
When I see him, I think of Gabriela Montero, who said that she was like that. Like they put a little bitty keyboard in her crib. She was 12 months and like picking out melodies on her little keyboard.
Yeah, this kid is definitely doing some
Yeah,
melody, like, text
yeah.
down. It's
And
extraordinary.
I remember in an interview, she was asked, like, is the rest of your family musical? Did, like, how did this happen? She's like, I think it was just a neurological fluke. Like, no one in my family is musical. It was just an accident that
Wow.
the keyboard ended up in my crib.
So
And she like,
Schumann story, maybe, because Schumann was on a farm. How did they get music growing up on a farm?
oh, really? I didn't know that about Schumann. Interesting.
Back in those days, growing up on a farm would,
Right.
Wow.
where's he getting the music there? The cowbell?
Right.
More cowbell,
Well,
Schumann.
work songs, I'm sure. Interesting.
I thought it was interesting how that little boy was going up chromatically.
Hmm.
As was like an exercise, but yeah, and I'd love to know if he has perfect pitch and how
Yeah,
that factors
that
in.
might be, he might not have a choice.
Mm.
I always love this question, and I sort of know for you, Eric, but Felicity and Bruce, like, how did you encounter Dr. Gordon's work, and like, what was your first exposure that piqued your interest?
My case is unusual. I was never his student. Well, I was always his student, but never in a class.
Yeah.
And it's ironic. I did my doctorate and my master's degree at Illinois. And, there are a lot of great things about that. And and other things too. But of course, I was rubbing elbows with major figures. And so one of them was Vic Caldwell, who he ended up being my advisor for my dissertation, but he was no big fan of Gordon's, and I don't think he really got it. Just between us.
Yeah.
He's still around. He's 93, I think. But at any rate, but he felt an obligation to expose us to Gordon. So we had a unit on Gordon in the research class, and it just clicked with me. It's like, you know, I've been a traditional band director for 10 years. I think I taught more audiation in my way than the average band director, but that's faint praise, you know.
Right.
And so it really registered because I loved band and I loved teaching, but I really felt that there was something missing, and so that kind of answered it. So I studied him. For my quals, I did quite a bit, included quite a bit on him, and then I ended up at the University of New Mexico, and I was the university VP for the Music Educators Association, and that was a pretty much moribund unit. They didn't do much, and so I appealed to the board for some money to bring him, and they said okay, and so I cold called him. I cold called Ed Gordon. Nobody taught me anything about him from a really knowledgeable perspective, but I wanted to meet the guy, so I brought him in for a day, got to hang out with him, and then I brought him 4 or 5 more times for summer workshops. I brought Dick Gruno a few times. I brought Chris Azera a few times, Butch, Cindy. So I was, you know, that's how I got to know those guys really, really well, with not having taken classes from them.
Yeah.
Including Ed Gordon.
Yeah.
I was, when he died, I posted a picture of me and him on top of our mountain here. And he told me that's the only time he'd ever been on top of a mountain. Of course, which is not surprising. The guy didn't have, I mean, did he have a personal life? He was, you know, he worked 20 hours a day on his research and his ideas.
Yeah.
So that's a long answer to your short question.
I always find it interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So I texted Ron and Eric and a couple others, if they're up.
Yeah, I've got no response from James.
Yeah, I know they'll see they have a notification on Facebook, but it's almost 20 after.
Yeah, we can get to the subject at hand. Yeah. Well, I'll say really quickly, I did a pedagogy degree. There was one music ed class, and it was with Dr. Azera. And he, you know, bass lines and functional solfege, and it was like trumpets. I was like, oh my God, thank you. This is what I've been scratching at, and not like, this is why I don't understand what's going on. And I am beginning to understand what's going on. So yeah. And I know, Eric, you studied with him, right?
Yeah, by accident.
Yeah.
I went to Temple and I didn't like any of my courses, and I complained to another graduate student who happened to be Lily Levinowitz of Music Together fame,
Yeah.
among others. And anyway, they said, well, you should talk to John. So I talked to John, and later I found out he was Dr. Holohan, the thesis advisor under Gordon. And I said, yeah, I'm a practical guy. I thought the practice track would be better than the theoretical track, the research track. And he says, maybe the research track is a way to get at what's best in practice. And I was like, well, that sounds right. So I went, sat in Dr. Gordon's office and requested to join his music learning theory 2 class, because I had missed learning theory 1 that fall. And he said, okay, just read the first 4 chapters of his Burgundy book. I couldn't get through 1 chapter.
Yeah.
And I skimmed the rest, but I, you know, it was until mid-March that the fireworks went off, that I got enough of the vocabulary to understand what was going on. And then it's like, oh, no wonder I can't improvise, or no wonder, you know, I'm thinking theoretically everything.
Yeah.
just because that's how I was taught. And my ears overcame that eventually, but not in the moment, not improvisation and creativity so much. Oh, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank
the
you.
light bulbs went off, and then I took everything he had for the next, 4 or 5 semesters, 6, I don't know how many, 3.5 years.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And Felicity?
So just brought up the kind of the traditional way, but I did have a very early childhood experience, which was very formative. So did a lot of Suzuki and did a bit of Dalcroze and that kind of thing. But I noticed that my students needed were just their movement and their technique was kind of off, and I didn't know how to help them. And also other things as well. Yeah, rhythm was really off as well. So those two things kind of threw me into trying to investigate how I could help these students. And I just found through Ann Davies talking on Facebook groups about, you've got to find out about this thing called music learning theory. And that's just, I just went straight into that. And I did buy a whole lot of Marilyn's books, and I had them sitting in the corner for about 6 months. And I kept putting them back and coming back and going, and I thought, what is this thing? And it took me that long to kind of really think, okay, I've got to get into this and find out what it's about. So, and then I just threw myself in little by little. I did little bits of it, and I realized, oh gosh, this is actually really working. And I was really honest with my students that I said, I'm experimenting. Like Gordon said, to be honest with them, tell them that you're trying this new thing out, and they'll be quite willing to be your guinea pigs. And they were. And in fact, I kind of, in some ways, I feel like I need to tap back into that experimental approach, because I've, just got to keep challenging myself and them a bit. But yeah, that's how I think about it.
Good story.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I like the spirit of that. I think it was Paul Jensen's comment. He was talking about, helping kids audiate some function, and he's like, I don't know what to call it, but I like what it does, And I was like enjoying this conversation, the Facebook thread, so much, because it feels like it was somehow getting at the intersection of theory and function and pedagogy. It was like touching all of those a little bit for me, and function and pedagogy are more important to me at the moment, but theory's great too. So anyway, I think I know, Felicity, you said that you were interested in talking more about Take Me Out to the Ball Game, the ones that.
Well, yeah, I want to see how that
The
pans out.
Cadential one is where I've landed,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
I'd love to see how how you explain that with function fingers and.
I ask my kids when I teach that song, it's, do you like that, or do you like, which one makes sense? Love race so dumb. And they all prefer that. So, okay, but that's a tonic chord, but that's so, right? Right? So it's tonic, but it's so in the bottom. So put your finger up and sing so, as the root or the bass. And we don't say anything about it. It's just they're audiating tonic. So that's for the first time I've taught an inversion.
Right.
Just because it doesn't make sense in the bass line. And everything else I've ever done, I've always had the root in the bottom to help them be able to audiate the function. And I show them when I'm teaching function, I'll go, that's tonic, that's tonic. These are all tonic. So they're always in different inversions when I first show them all, I show them all the colors of tonic.
Right.
As much as I can. So to me, I can't get my mind around 164 being anything else but tonic. and unless you talk me into something else, because I only use it, the Cadential 164 occasionally, because my kids are so young. We're 8, we're first grade, second grade, where they're learning to take me out to the ball game changes.
Right.
So
For me, of course, I did theory and oral skills a long time ago. And at the time, the Cadential 6/4 was 1/6/4. And then it was after that that the music theory profession, most of them, but not all of them, they still argue about it. But most of them, and most of the books currently reflect them changing their mind about the Cadential 6/4 and calling it 5/7. And so I didn't come across that until 12 years ago, when I got control of oral skills instruction for music ed majors here after many years of butting heads with the music theory people here, about lots of stuff, as you can imagine. And then so it's 5/7, and I thought, okay, what else are you thinking about? I know you guys are smart. Sometimes you're too smart for your own good, and you put the wrong emphasis, theoretical emphasis rather than audiation emphasis on important principles and concepts like this. But at any rate, that's what students were being exposed to in their theory class, and I didn't want to confuse them, so I started calling it 5/7.
but where's the 7th?
I'm sorry, 5/6/4. Sorry.
Okay.
But I never bought into it very well, because I thought, wait a minute. In every single other case, the Roman in harmony, every one, anywhere, the Roman numeral is determined by the content of the chord, right? So something that, in every other context, if it's got do, mi, so in it somewhere, regardless, something in the bass, it gets a 1. So they say they make this one exception, which I don't think is a very good idea. And I'm not sure that I buy the notion they say, well, it's dominant because it sounds like dominant with suspensions.
Well,
you can say that about any chord, that has the wrong notes in it, according to its Roman numeral. I mean, you can say that about a lot of contexts.
Right.
Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, subjectively, if you're audiating dominant and you hear that, if you never hear anything else, where that's the most prominent context for that dominant, that this is, but you have to be projecting ahead and audiating ahead to the next chord, and children don't do that. So, I think subjectively you could audiate that as dominant with suspensions. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're not dealing with what's happening now. You're dealing with what's coming. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, except that I think it's more advanced, and my kids are just, the younger kids are just so much more literal. When they hear that function, it's absolutely tonic. Even though that so is in the bottom. I said, is that is that tonic? No, it's tonic. It's the end of the story. It's like, yes. And I don't have any, I don't have any theoretical reason to want to change it. I mean, I just don't listen to theory. I listen to the children. children tell me what theory they're ready for.
Right.
So, you know, it seemed like so many people were in the camp of, yeah, it is a dominant. And I'm like, okay, I want to find out how. So I want to know the thinking and incorporate that thinking into what I'm doing. Because maybe it's just I want to do it next, you know, the next level of, you know, here we have suspensions. And I haven't worked with suspensions very much with the children. I work with tones that don't belong or extra tones. You know, extensions. Tones that don't belong. It's like they happen all the time when you're playing a melody and you're playing a function and part of that melody doesn't fit. Or extensions where, you know, there's a chord that there's a function and there's a tone in the melody that fits, but it's not part of tonic. It's not part of the dominant, you know. So, you know, a dominant ninth in a lot of the songs where mi, re, do, where it's dominant tonic, but it's mi, re, do. So that mi doesn't fit in dominant, but it's a lovely sound. It's like, yeah, it does.
Right.
So, you know, it's a question, do you like it? Do you like the sound? Yeah, it's dominant with an extra tone. That's all it is. Or tonic with an extra tone. In the case of the blues or when you play.
If I were discussing this in a oral skills class, I'd be at the keyboard, of course. Let me see if my wife's up yet.
Uh-oh.
So, I'm wondering if I'm understanding what you're saying, Eric, that whether we are audiating or, well, whether we know the labels or not, like adults in our culture have heard, I'm going to say 164 because that's what I grew up with also.
Yep.
16451 so many times in so much music that like we're that anticipation, like we hear 164 and it means we're gonna, you know, sometimes we get surprised, but it means we're going to hear a 5/7 99 times out of 100, and we know that. And maybe a 7-year-old is not at that point.
Yeah, unless they've had the listening vocabulary first. It's first, you know, listening vocabulary, listening. How much listening vocabulary?
Right.
Like you can't ever get enough. And then it's like oral, you know, just sing.
Right.
And the oral is happening at the same time. You've already, when you get to this level, you've already gotten to verbal association with naming, right? In addition to the, you know, obviously the solfege.
Right.
Naming functions. So, yeah, I think I had another thought, but my cat interrupted me.
Oh, well, here, I'll interrupt you. I'll be in cahoots with your
Very
cat.
distracted.
I have another, I just want to go back to take me out to the ball game for just a second.
Oh,
I
sure.
want to be 100% sure. I mean, I can listen to the video, but I'm just going to ask anyway, because here we are.
No,
I think I heard you play when you were demonstrating the 2 ways. Do you like this or this?
yeah.
Why are there balloons?
Yeah.
Is it because I did this?
I don't know.
Oh, could be.
Oh, wow. Why? Can I do that?
I don't know.
Oh,
funny.
man, you got magic. You got
Hey.
something special.
All right. Welcome to the Elizabeth Haymaker Piano Studio. What I like to joke is if this were Hogwarts, that the solfege wheel would automatically move to the proper resting tone and the melody without me touching it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
It hasn't happened yet. Okay. So I want to make sure I heard what you were doing correctly. So I think I heard you play, you know, the roots were, I'm just going to say it. So, or fa, fi, so, or fa, fi, do. But you still played the diminished, you know, or the 4 diminished 1, right? In the right hand. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I heard that right. And I just,
I'm sorry,
mean,
Felicity, do you know the song well? Or you
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
familiar with it?
I
Okay.
had to learn it because it's not one that I'm familiar
Yeah,
with, but
that's what I thought. I didn't
yeah,
think it.
I had to become familiar. I've become familiar now.
Okay, okay. I just like there's something about distilling. I mean, you do this so well, Eric. Like what's the need to know and what's the extra stuff? And for me, like teaching kids, like kids love to play the entertainer. I'm like, great, let's learn the roots first. So I'm playing oompa oompa, and we're singing do, do, fa, do, do, so, do.
So it
Or
don't, but it's
do.
a,
Sorry.
and there's a
And
different, sorry,
no,
go
no, no,
ahead.
no, I just did it wrong. I did it wrong. Sorry, let me try that again.
Um,
Do, do, fa, do, so, do for the 164. And I know
mhm.
there's another inversion, but in the entertainer, but I ignore that one. And half the kids look at me like, if I play the 164 and call it, oh, I'm actually doing function fingers. If I call it this a 5, like if I call them both a 5, they're like, no. So that's when I was like, I don't know what to call it, special 5. And I just threw that
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But then I wanted something more elegant. And now I sort of lost the thread of where I was going with this. But
I think the entertainer is a good vehicle for calling into question the music theory approach. Because if we're in your bum, I'm going to go to this key, ba ba do dee, do fa, so do, right?
right.
So I always just did this for Cadential 6/4.
This?
Ba ba do dee, ba dee. All right. So in this key, he goes do fa, so do, right? Do
Oh,
mi so,
uh-huh.
fa la do, so do mi, so ti re fa, do mi so, right? Isn't that how entertainer
Yeah.
goes? But
Yeah.
the thing is, I would just argue that that's a little bit more compelling than doing it this way. Do fa, do so do. To have that the chord in question as a root position tonic chord
Right.
works. And
Yeah.
I would agree with somebody who says, yeah, but it doesn't work quite as well as the cadential 6/4. So you have fa go to so fa so do mi so ti re fa, right?
Right.
So I think that undermines their argument about that. I would argue that the cadential 6/4, in other words, do mi and so with so in the bass, is just a preferred choice. It works better, but that doesn't make its function 5.
Right.
So anyway,
And
it
then the
could be that.
pedagogical part of me hears that, and I hear Eric a few minutes ago saying, "Do you like this or this?" Which is, I feel like, kind of what you're saying in a different way, and like whether they like it is so important. Like it's music. Like that's the point of all of this. So it's just interesting to kind of get at it in all these different ways. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think, Eric, you said that students, children prefer this and that, this or that. And I think that's super important to keep in mind for how to teach children. But how to make designations in music theory needs to be based on how adults audiate music.
Mhm.
And I've differed with Ed Gordon publicly about his prohibition of grouping beats and threes. I actually have an MEJ article where I disagree with him. And he said the reason for that is that children tend to group beats in twos. And I said, well, great, that's important for how we teach children, but it's not how we should come up with a theory of music.
Do you
I
mean,
mean,
for
a
example, like in
theoretical
9/8 or
principle.
something? Are you talking about group? Tell me, what do you mean about grouping beats in threes? Like in 9/8? Like,
Do, 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 do. Doesn't have to be, but it's the same thing. Do, 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 do. It's the same thing.
did Gordon
So
not think that children grouped beats in threes?
that's what he says.
Grouping macro beats.
Macro beats.
Macro beats.
Grouping macro beats in
Okay.
two.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
You know,
So I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I mean, that's a little off topic for this discussion. But
That's okay. I have an off-topic question too. So,
but you know, I mean, again, going back to the Cadential 6/4, it's I would argue that it's just I'm with you. I think Eric, you've been saying that it really should be considered Roman numeral 1. Correct?
yeah, that's
Rather
what
than
children
what most,
audiotonic when I play it.
rather than what most theory people have been doing for, I don't know, 30 years or so, calling it 5/6/4, which to me is just, it's really inadvisable to have a single exception. But maybe I'm overdoing that issue because Liz, it seems like you were wondering about the best way to address it with children.
yes.
You know, and I always did the Cadential 6/4 just this way, so something different.
And I like that too. And like what I often do, so I like is I'll play an accompaniment and call out the functions and have them do the functions. So I guess I just have to accompany with one hand instead. But I need a name for this because I do want to call it out. You know, because if I'm calling out everything else, like give me a 1, you know, I say, did you bring your 1 today? And they're like, yes. Except the 6-year-old is like, no, I didn't bring it. I'm like, ah.
Cadential 6/4 doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, does it? So
No,
we need a better name, especially when the Cadential 6/4 isn't. It's like it could, because in Take Me Out to the Ball Game, that same chord, so do, what I'm in this key, so do mi, fa fi so fa la do, fi la do me, so do mi.
right.
It's the same chord, but then it could be a Cadential 6/4 there, but it has deceptive motion. La di mi so re fi la so ti re, got it. So ti re fa do mi so. You know, it has a deceptive motion in going to 5 of 6.
Right.
In that particular tune. And so the theory people call that a passing 6/4.
Yeah.
It's a passing because it's not.
I mean,
and it's not a passing 6/4 if it goes straight to 5/7.
We could choose to just do this because it's still the content of the 1 chord,
right,
in inversion.
Right.
It's arguably the most important inversion that we have, but I just don't know if it should be called 5.
Yeah. So I'm trying to put together like elegant language, something I can do with one hand. Like I do this as 7 and this as 6, so I can accompany with my other hand. And names, like, you know, I don't need a name and a hand symbol for every function because I'm just not going to, you know, I don't teach really advanced students at all. And so, but this one I feel like I need. So I think I'm in one camp though right now, because I don't really feel like explaining suspensions to my kids. I don't see any, that doesn't, sure, later, but it doesn't seem like that's something that I want to do.
Yeah. So how does it how does it function? Is that, is a 164 different, function differently when it goes, there's Eric. Does it function differently when it goes to something other than dominant,
Yeah,
right? And the other
It
thing
does,
to bring
yeah.
up, yeah, and so it's a different function. It's the same chord, but it's
right.
a different function, same exact tones in the same order, same whatever, but it functions differently. And then does anybody audiate the dominant, the tonic, that it's the dominant of the four,
Oh, right.
right?
5/7, 5/7 and 4, yeah.
That was the next one I was sort of thinking about.
Right?
But
Before it gets to, so there's, so that
are you asking if we audiate that as a tonic or as a secondary dominant?
a tonic with a seventh or secondary dominant, not a secondary, well, yeah. I mean, however, it's
I would
it's
usually just do something like
the
this.
dominant of the four,
Yeah,
Wait a minute, 4.
right.
Five of four.
and but it's not complete. It's not it's a, and it's so, it is
Oh,
the
your sound just cut out for a second for me. Will you do that again, please?
original sound. Let me, there we go. See if this will fix it. There's a, you know, right? And then, right? And then the
Right.
164, which is, to me, it's just tonic, just sing so.
Yeah.
Show tonic, sing the bass note, not the root, but sing the bass note. And the kids just get used to, fa, and I used to fee. I didn't have anything for the fa, fee, so.
Oh, that's what you do for fee. Okay, I was
I
wondering
just,
about that.
I didn't,
Yeah.
I don't have anything better. I had to do a sharp four, fa, fa, fee, so,
Hmm.
then 2 hands and a foot, triple dominant.
Yes.
Re, so, do. We're doing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. If you didn't figure it out, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Good morning.
On.
Hey, Eric.
I'm audiating a Bach invention right now
Okay.
with
It's a 164 in
a
there. I hope.
secondary dominant. Just before he gets to the F major cadence, he slips in a secondary, a 5 of 4, which leads to his 4-5-1. But Bach is always doing stuff like that.
Is this the is this the F major invention you have in your head?
I can't sing that high this morning. I can't do it. No voice today. I can't do it. But that's
Yeah.
I'm getting that in my head.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
But
you.
there's a-
Okay, I'll play with that after we're done.
When you said the 5 of 4 and what's going on, that's because I was looking at that recently. That's what's going through my head now.
Yeah, it stops being a tonic because it's got the seventh. But there's also the blues where that same exact number of notes, same chord again, but it doesn't function as a 5 of 4 in the blues
Right.
necessarily. It's just home, and home has a dominant seventh quality. But it's
Which
not
is
dominant seventh, it's a dominant seventh.
which is a really cool thing about the blues. I mean, Mozart and Beethoven never did that,
Hmm.
or Bach.
Nope. No, yeah, that's why I always get to the blues as quickly as I can, after we get tonic dominant, subdominant, major, and minor, I'm filling her ears with the blues, just because it's the root of everything since. You know, Wayne Shorter even said that. There's a brilliant, I really love this documentary, Zero Gravity, Wayne Shorter. If any of you guys are jazz heads, it's just really, even if you're not, it's really interesting to see the man, because he's features prominently in it and talks about his music, but also about his life. And it's really well done. It's more of a, and I think I don't know how many hours. It's a bunch of hours, 6 maybe 5.
Well,
Really, really well done documentary.
check it out.
It's on Amazon, but I think it can be rented elsewhere. It took me a
Elizabeth,
while to go through it. Zero Gravity, Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity,
Um,
and it's just super well done.
Interesting. I'll check it out.
thank
Were you
you.
going to say
Yeah.
something, Felicity?
Oh, I was just going to ask if you were going to ask about the Neapolitan, and you were
Oh,
singing
yeah.
English
Sure.
song. I had no idea
Sure.
what you were all about.
Yeah. I just wanted to reflect though a little bit. I'll ask that. So, and I'm just thinking of my own sequence. Like, I'm a piano teacher. People love to play the entertainer. I belabor happy birthday because I feel like it's a skill that every piano teacher should have. I think that's pretty, there's a consensus around that now. And we learn it with the, first with 151 at the very end, and then I teach the 164, which is I think the camp that I'm in, to 1, and it's exactly what Eric was doing. It's just interesting to like look at my own, hear what you're like. I'm like, this one's stronger, this one's better, and they're learning this at the keyboard. It's not in the sort of it's not in the audiation phase per se, except they're audiating as they're playing it. So, yeah, anyway, so I would love to talk about Neapolitan. I am just wondering, actually, I slept on it and I think I know what I'm gonna do for Neapolitan. I mean, it was silly to think about ice cream, but I just can't help it. But I think, Neapolitan is about as exotic as it gets in my substitutions that I'm teaching kids. So, what I do with English folk song, which is a music moves book. Okay, truth be told, I'm not using music moves anymore, but I'm using everything but the lesson books. That's another story. But I do teach that song. And so it's in Aeolian in the book, but I have students change it to harmonic minor. And after they change it to harmonic minor, so say we're in E minor. I'm sorry, I can't get the piano to make any sound with Zoom. So bum, 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 bum. So that is Ray, right? That's where I say, instead of nothing, instead of just still being on the 1, you could play this really cool Neapolitan chord. And then we get the Neapolitan to the 5 to the 1. So, and I think, to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure if I have done that enough in audiation. It's been more like keyboard harmony. So, but I would like to set that up more in audiation. And I think I would do it with a tall 2, but what do other people think?
So I'm not audiating any the tune or the function.
Oh,
So I
okay.
don't know. I can't answer without, right? And
Okay.
and it's something I haven't taught yet, I don't think.
Okay.
But I do, I'll do teach, like, so where does the Neapolitan come from?
Let me back up. Let me sing this song. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's very short and simple. So,
Yeah.
dun 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 da 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 da. That's without the substitution. And here it is. Here's the substitution that I teach them. Da 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 da. Does that make sense? I'm sorry I can't demonstrate on my piano.
So what chord is it if you're in A minor, which is where you are?
It would be
B flat first
it would be a B
inversion.
flat. Yeah, a B flat major. It would be B, yes, it would be that. It would be B flat to E major to A minor for the end. Yeah.
That's
It's very
pretty,
Baroque.
that's unusual. I don't know where that happens.
Oh, it happens in a later advanced piece that I like to teach by Ernest Marsden. So I'm kind of planting a seed of that.
So my
Which
kids
happened
know
years later, but I still like it. So
la so fa mi, right? My kids know those functions,
uh-huh.
you know.
Doesn't it happen in the Tempest Sonata, Beethoven Tempest Sonata? Anyway, third movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah. I'd have to think really think through that one more.
that's what, the dun dun, 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 so for me, or hit the road jack.
Uh-huh.
They know that where am I here? For me, right? So, but it's this because no, it's dun ding, and then wait, no, shoot, I'm so sorry. I
No,
hate
no, no, that's fine.
confusing audiation. Um, so tonic da 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 da, and then it goes from here to. That's what it is. That's like a tritone substitution to dominant.
Oh,
Really, what it's like.
oh,
Um,
I didn't think of it
that's in
that
the
way.
theoretical world. What it is just fa mi. But you've got to switch keys uh, only because of how they know that function elsewhere. Because these functions don't come out of nowhere. They come from borrowed other tonalities, right? It's like, so what is the context for that to have gotten there? The Neapolitan didn't just like, oh, this is cool, and let's add this extra chord in minor. It came from somewhere.
It's like it was the exotic chord of choice for Bach and Handel, and from the mid to late Baroque on. That was the big what the augmented sixth chord was for Haydn and Mozart. The
Yeah,
Neapolitan was for Bach and Handel. That was their
yeah.
exotic chord, like something dramatic is happening right now.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to give a little
That
taste of the simple folk song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sing it and then give it the roots, and then sometimes the roots change based on the context. Because I have songs that are, you know, Dorian, and so it's re, so re, do, re. But then this will, then it'll go do, and now we call do, re. Now we'll call this instead of do subtonic, it's so do, because we're going to, you know, uh, we're going to major la ti do, rate fa becomes re, mi, fa, mi, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, re. Do, re, right? So fa becomes do, right? And then mi, la. Mm. And it goes back from la and, minor, mi, la, to do, re. So I can switch because they understand their tonalities. I can say that do is now so because so goes to do, but it's also do, re at the same time. So you can switch how you want to do, re, or is it do, so, do? Change do to so, and just that's how I teach modulation. So when I get into weird stuff, I find where it's already been audiated in the most natural of the, and it depends again on their listening vocabulary. They're what I've taught them is the vocabulary of my book. So it's all those tunes, and there might be better tunes to teach. And I don't have any tunes that do Neapolitan, but what I would do is I would borrow what they already audiate in terms of, that could be, I'm sorry, come on, it's early. So they know that in minor, but if you're doing, instead of, see, that's where I hear Neapolitan going. In this instance, it's going, in your song.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
And that's,
so,
Elizabeth,
so
you were right.
Go ahead, Eric.
It isn't, I mean, I'm thinking of the third movement Tempest, Beethoven.
Yes.
I'm in the wrong key, but
Oh, I don't know.
so far straightforward.
Right.
And then there's all it's a Neapolitan
Yeah.
going to a 5 going to a 1.
Right.
In that phrase.
So
to me, if I were going to make up a song for my kindergarten or first grade with that, I would just open my sheet music of Beethoven and simplify it and pare it down to something less brilliant than Beethoven, something worthy of Bluestine, mediocre.
Like your last post.
Just exactly.
Like your last post.
Why reinvent the wheel? Beethoven already did it brilliantly. I can do it with great mediocrity and throw myself into it. And I would create a Neapolitan 5/1 song.
Right. Oh, you just froze for me a second.
Oh, I'm
a
sorry.
second ago.
I was just outlining it in my head.
Eric Bluestine.
Is your tonic minor. I can't sing this early in the morning, but that's your Neapolitan sound. And then
Yeah.
And there's your minor-ish outline. From there, I'd make up some kind of tune. So if you're in, let's say, D minor, which Beethoven was, you could do D minor, A7, D minor for a while just to get your ear into it, and then have an E flat, throw in an E flat major chord, and then dominant one more time, and then tonic, and then
That's a great function I don't have. That would be an expansion of. It's just a matter of repertoire for them.
Yeah, just get a lot of Bach and
listening
Handel.
Repertoire and oral. That's it. That's all it is. And then
slow movement of Beethoven's slow movement of the Moonlight Sonata too, somewhere along there.
Yes.
Beautiful, nice and easy to access. Yeah, it's coming along in the piano rep.
So Eric, which movement of the Beethoven was that?
That was Elizabeth, it was the third
It's the
movement,
third movement of the Beethoven Tempest Sonata was the
number
one that came.
17.
Yeah, I don't remember the opus, but
And
that's
I'm sure it's in D minor.
yes.
That's
That's exactly the one that I was thinking of, but I didn't have the access to the.
So far, 151.
So Eric, that always occurs in first inversion, that flat two.
It's in the Baroque period, it was always, yes, it was always in D minor, it would have been G in the bass, then B flat, then E flat to outline a first inversion E flat major chord. A
Right.
flat two, then a 5, then a 1. And usually for dramatic effect, they would
But-
land on that first inversion.
And then that relates very nicely to 451 but it's not a 4 chord, it's a flat 2 in
It's a
first.
cousin.
So, you know,
The context in
so
which
you're,
I'm
so
taking it,
you're singing a familiar tone in the bass, but you're doing, or however you want to do flat 2.
right? I think I can't think of an instance where I'm. Oh no, never mind. No, I can't think of an instance where I'm teaching a 2 chord, except in major, which would it be minor 2, right? So if we're getting back to the practical, like I think this might be okay for in my studio and when I
happy
do
birthday
this,
to
balloons
you.
show up. I have no idea why. Okay. I can't think of any other reason I would need a tall 2 in my studio where sort of the scope of my work. Yeah. So, Eric,
Unless you're doing something
Eric
that's-
Rasmussen. What, Felicity?
Sorry, unless you're doing Muffin Man, do you know the Muffin Man with the big ray?
Yes, but I think that would be 5 of 5.
No, it's both.
Oh, it's both.
At least that's how I do it. Muffin Man, the Muffin Man.
Is it this to this? Or is it this to this?
Muffin Man, the Muffin Man.
Should be 5 of 5.
Yeah.
There is no little 2, because at the end,
too many cooks spoil that broth. It's all you need is a 5 of 5, I think. I mean,
okay.
That's the tune I used to introduce 5 of 5. Is that song?
Well, then I get to keep my tall 2 for
It's just 3
Neapolitan.
chords.
Oh, really? Because I always, all right. So I've added stuff to it.
Okay.
Where I teach 5 of 5 is in a 1-horse open sleigh because it's just
Right.
familiar.
Or
And then I've got
Home on the Range. I mean, there's a million, but
the one that I like the most though is just tonic down tonic the whole first part of it, for the A section of the song, and then it's middle section ba dum ba fa do, right? Then re so to get you to come back to the A section. It's what it does is hammers tonic dominant subdominant so much that when the double dominant comes, it really sticks out, and it doesn't do that as much in songs where they kind of pass by, like they do in You Are My Sunshine, or name it.
right.
There's a huge cadential 5-5-5-1.
Wait, and you were saying that about Jingle Bells?
It's not. It's where I get started, but I get off of it really quick. But it's just so familiar to the kids.
Yeah.
In 1-horse open sleigh, Jingle Bells.
So I'm going to go back and watch your explanation of modulation, Eric Rasmussen, because I need to slow that down. But I have an idea. I have a suggestion for something. I loved the harmonic scale learning sequence class, and the like brightest light bulb moment was when you were going back and forth between This Little Light of Mine and This Old Hammer, and I got it. Like you went back and forth enough times. I had not made that connection. I knew both songs, and I was like, aha. And I bet there's a lot more of that a lot of people like me would like to learn. So if you want to teach a audiating modulations class, I'll sign up.
Okay.
And for teacher, sort of in the
Yeah.
like HLS level 2 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That would be
Well,
great. And can I just check that song was Lullaby for Ray, in case anyone's watching?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. What song?
The song I was doing the modulations for is
Oh,
called Lullaby for Ray.
is that in your book?
No, it's not Lullaby for Ray. I'm sorry.
Oh.
What is it? Little one.
It's what?
Little one. Little one. Little one. It's one of my songs. Why
It's in
don't
your book.
you please
Yeah.
go to sleep? You'll
I get
feel
that.
so much better if you just close your sleepy eyes. Little
Okay.
one. Little one.
Okay.
Why don't
That's
you please go to sleep. And then you don't end there because you have to do a cadential. Little one. To make sure we're Dorian again, not minor.
thank you. I that'll help my process a little bit, knowing which song you were talking about too.
Yeah,
So,
if you look at it in the book, it'll give you the, it says Ray, and underneath it it'll say whatever, or underneath do it'll say so. It's like you're coming into do, but how it functions from there. So do,
right.
so it's do ray, and then ray becomes do becomes so do.
Yes. Okay.
This becomes this.
Right.
Do, re, do, so, do. So you switch syllables.
Okay.
But of course, they're already way comfortable in Dorian by itself, and major by itself, and minor by itself.
Okay.
So that
That's
when you just exchange syllables, that's how I teach modulation. It's really.
I know that the answer is in the book, but does the do stay the same in this modulation? No, the do change. Okay. I'll follow up.
Yeah, no, once you modulate, none of the tones are the same.
Okay.
Do has to become something else. If do becomes so, then,
Okay.
everything, all the solfege shifts until you go back.
Okay. Can I tell a slightly a funny story? It's about your book, Dr. Bluestine.
Oh, my book.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can tell a funny story about Eric's book. Now, but
Ah,
Oh no, I love Eric's books. Both the books are wonderful. But I was reading your book like 20 years ago, and some people came to the door trying to convert me to a certain religion, and as they do, and they came to the door. They were so sweet. They were like, "Can we share our favorite book with you?" And I was like, "Can I share my favorite book with you?"
wow.
And we had a very nice conversation. And I was
convert
like, "I'm
them.
sorry, your church is too homophobic for me, but I really wish you the best, and have a nice day." And they were really nice, but it was like, I just, I mean, I hope I didn't offend anybody, but it was a very sweet interaction,
How could Eric's book offend anybody?
I know.
Well,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, I come from band directors, so maybe some of my people
Uh-huh.
Did
would
they
be
walk
offended by
away?
Eric's book.
It would be offended by Eric Bluestine's book.
Yes,
So
possibly.
Did they,
Challenged.
did
I
they
don't
go
know.
away music
My
learning
writing
tools?
can be kind of offensive sometimes. Can I throw out an idea that's relevant to our discussion that some people took issue with? Not in my book, but in a recent post. I wrote this post around 2 o'clock in the morning. Initially, I revised it, but there's still a lot of sleepy-headed stuff in this post. And it's about, I was writing a tonality test, a major and minor discrimination test for my students, which I've only got to administer as a pretest. I haven't had a chance to crunch numbers and see which items I should throw out and which are, positively discriminating and which are difficult and easy. None of that yet. But I was saying how challenging it is to come up with test items that are purely major and minor and still get a diversity of styles and genres and time periods and all that stuff. I mean, if I wanted to make a test exclusively of Beethoven, I could do that. But what would be the point? I want folk music in there, and I want all music from different nationalities and all that stuff. So I was saying that one of the challenges is, not just the dreaded Picardy third, which throws a monkey wrench into whether it's major or minor. If you're using a 25 or 30-second excerpt, that Picardy third can kill you. But I said that, I'm not against, this is a throwaway paragraph that I wrote. I'm not against the teaching of other modes, certainly. And I've made up a lot of songs for my kindergarten and first grade and Phrygian and Dorian and Lydian and all that stuff. But major and minor are qualitatively different. And I just said, because in major and minor, there's a push to the dominant, there's a push to third bass, or an avoidance, a deliberate avoidance of the dominant, but it's always calculated, where you're dancing around, you're using the neopolitan as a dominant preparation, or you're using an augmented sixth chord as a dominant preparation, or you're leading up to those chords again as dominant preparation or dominant avoidance, depending on what your aesthetic purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
But with Dorian, there's a kind of a dance around those chords, and eventually you do end up with some kind of tonic chord, but you don't push to the preparation to get to the tonic chord. There's no push to third bass.
Mm-hmm.
The dominant does not really dominate as it does in major and minor. In major and minor, the dominant really does dominate. Third bass is king or queen or the ultimate.
Yeah.
And that was almost like a throwaway line, in major, the qualitative difference between major and minor and the other modes is that you have that push to third bass. And I got a lot of pushback from that, from people who were thinking that I was saying that major and minor are more important than the other modes, or that that I'm sort of downplaying the importance of teaching Dorian or Lydian or Mixolydian, and not at all. I mean, a lot of my singing with kindergarten and first grade is still, I open with a song in Dorian in my kindergarten classes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the music class. Hello, everyone. Very nice to see you. And then they do their circles. Ba-da-da-ba-da-da-da-bum-ba, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-ba. And that's my, these days, that's my opening song. So, I'm very modal, but I don't know how to. I'm still trying to figure out quite what the pushback was from my comment. I don't know if anybody had any thoughts about that, because I wasn't trying to downplay the other modes at all.
No,
Like
I
major,
know you
minor.
well enough you're not saying it's an and conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
It's add, right? Because here's the thing, Bo and I have talked about it on the podcast a number of times. I don't know, not exclusively for an episode, but major can take an incredible beating, and secondary dominance and all these other, right? And still maintain its majorness. Where if you try to do weird stuff to Dorian, it goes somewhere where you don't, where it's easy to fall into major or easy to fall somewhere else. there's
easy
and
to follow
minor
international
just
time.
is less so, but it still can take a pretty solid beating with functions that are outside the diatonic functions. And Dorian mixed Lydian, you just use the diatonic functions. If you go outside of that, you're dancing on some coals. You're going to get burned and end up in major, or you're going to get burned and end up, audiating quite subjectively rather than objectively. You're going to be forced to a place where you've got to make some judgments. It's more delicate.
Yeah, I feel that when I teach Lydian, like it's so easy for it to just have one feel like four. So much so that I'm not totally sure. Is Lydian really a tonality? Did I say that? Like, yes, but
Yeah.
I'm afraid, like,
Chopin would say it is.
What?
Chopin would say it is. His mazurkas
Yeah.
are strewn with Lydian, but then
Yeah,
You know,
delicious
I think I need more
ambiguity.
Lydian listening because I'm improvising in Lydian. I play a 5 and I panic. I'm like, anyway, yeah. So I'll listen to.
I have a problem with Locrian. I can't get it. I don't.
Oh,
get the
totally.
tonality.
I
And
totally
then
agree with that.
what I think is a better tonality is Beau's invention. I don't know if it's an invention, but he's the one that introduced me to it. Is Lydian flat 2. It's really cool.
Oh.
And it comes with all kinds of different cool harmonies.
Yeah, I think of Lydian as the sort of proto-planet Pluto. It's so far away from the sun, the gravitational pull is almost negligible, and it's such a tiny planet that it could, if a Jupiter were ever to get next to it, it would just lose its prominence completely and just become another obscure planet going around Jupiter.
Yeah, it's fickle.
That's what Locrian is to me. It's so gravitationally weak. Dr. Gordon, one time, this was after he had come see some of us teach early childhood stuff, and we were just talking, and a few of us were there, and he threw out the challenge of, can you come up with a Locrian melody where the resting tone does not sound like a leading tone to major, where you don't feel that push to, to just go up that half step and arrive at major. And I sang for him a tune that I was working on. It goes, can I sing it for you? It goes like this. Ba-di-di-da, ba-da-da-da-di-da, ba-di-di-da-da, ba-da-di-da, bum-ba. And I said, that's obscure enough where you don't want to go pa-da, and you don't want
But
to.
I want to audiate the re as the resting tone.
Of that?
Your starting note.
But that could be.
That's
And it has a little bit of that jazzy, good evening, friend,
yeah, but when you finish on T, it doesn't feel finished.
Interesting.
Oh,
I don't hear it as a resting tone.
Yeah, and that's a matter of.
I mean, how many Locrian melodies are there?
That's right. I mean,
that
Leonard
people know.
Bernstein said, hello and
None.
goodbye to the Locrian mode. That's what, and when he was giving a talk on, a young people's concert on modes, he devoted a sentence and a half to Locrian, and he said, "There's no music in Locrian,
There
so let's
isn't.
just say hello and goodbye to Locrian."
I
I tried to come up with a tune, and for me, it sounds finished, but I could tell, a couple of people there were shaking their heads too.
Doesn't Wagner have something in the ring cycle? I only have information. That's as far as I can go. I have no auditional ability to recall. But Locrian had, Wagner, one of the ring cycle operas, the Locrian somewhere, somebody said. So, but again, Beau has a great Locrian tune, but I just can't audiate Locrian. That's my problem. I don't do it. It goes somewhere. I'm too stuck. I think it's useful to know stuff in Locrian because it helps me audiate over top of other jazz functions to feel like it gives you different vocabulary. but it's always over top of, like special chords or diminished chords, or or there are ways to embellish other chords to think in Locrian. But again, I'm not audiating at that point. It's a trick for me to do
It was
something.
interesting to hear, sorry, on that episode, it was interesting to hear Bo talk about, he was debating whether the functions that Gordon chose for Locrian were actually
The most important, the most
valid, the best
essential.
ones. Yeah, yeah. I made a note actually of the ones that he suggested were better functions for Locrian.
Yeah, the third and the
Yeah.
subsonic, I thought. And I don't know what other people have said what are the essential functions in Locrian?
I can look and see what Marilyn says. I don't remember.
Well, it would be the subtonic, definitely.
Yeah, the subtonic and what other one?
Okay, I've got notes here.
You're in
Locrian.
trouble when your tonic has a built-in tritone. You're on sort of shaky ground with anything you can hold on to.
I mean, Bo suggests that it's tonic and four.
Four.
That feels too Phrygian to me, because the four, let's say you're in B Locrian, the four would be E minor, and then that would pull me into Phrygian.
I don't know, given that there isn't any music in Locrian, is this question kind of like how many angels can dance on the head of a pin?
Exactly.
I have to at least include Marilyn's. So her book says that the essential well, she said the characteristic tone is fa, and that the primary trads are 1, 3, 7, and 1, 3, and 7.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's what it says in here too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, actually, Bo, I've got here a note that Bo says compare Locrian to Phrygian. Because he's all about, Bo talks a lot about comparing tonalities together and comparing them.
Yeah. Well, that's the partial synthesis thing that we're always like it's like in one respect, what something is and what it's not is what the oral experience is, why you do all these tonalities. I'm sorry to do a five, but what something is and what it's not. What that is what creates your vocabulary, your listening vocabulary, and then you want to get off a major and get to minor right away. When you get to learning sequences.
Phrygian and Locrian may both start with a half step, but that doesn't mean they have anything in common. That's important. Because Phrygian is a thing, and Locrian isn't.
It's just a comparison.
Locrian is just
but Bo audio.
It's a hypothetical thing for people like us to talk about in hypothetical context, but there's no music in Locrian. But Phrygian is a real thing.
Yeah.
Especially Spanish Phrygian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
that's a real thing.
Locrian, so for him it's real. For me, I don't. If you can audiate and you can make up stuff in Locrian and you got it.
He's definitely improvising on his.
How many of us have time for discussing Locrian with our students? You mean after they've mastered everything else?
Well,
I never get to that with myself, let alone my students.
My students will look at my solfege wheel and they'll say, "What about when T is home?" And I say, "I have just one." Oh, I don't think I can do it. Wait, you all know this one.
I have just one.
I have just one mouth. I have just one mouth. My nose is north and my mouth is south. That's in music play, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know how I know that. I must know that from music play.
Yeah, I hate it.
Oh, sorry.
No, I just don't like a Locrian.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, that's the end of the conversation. I'm not teaching it beyond that, but if they ask,
Oh
that's
yeah,
my,
no, I tell them
Yeah.
here are all our resting tones. We got do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and there's another law. There's two different laws, right?
Yeah.
So pick a resting tone. We'll do songs in that. And I say resting tone T, and I said I don't know any songs, so I'll do Twinkle. And they know I hate it, so they're getting, but they ask me because I don't like it because they want to see me suffer. So
right.
they did get a little listening, and I just
Right.
changed Twinkle to Locrian, uh, and they think it's cute.
To me, I think that, sorry.
But that's as far as Locrian goes. When I have the kids pick the resting tone that they want these songs in, and I say, is that the right way or the wrong way? And
I don't have a problem
yeah.
with a novel, a brief visit to the hypothetical tonality of Locrian in a class as a way of just sort of expanding students' consciousness about possibilities. But I don't see that the same as hypothesizing about the functions in Locrian. Because if there aren't any songs in Locrian, then why talk about the tonal functions in Locrian? There aren't any, right? Anyway, I'll leave off of that.
I'll stand on my curriculum that doesn't include it much.
Right. Well, thank you so much for this spontaneous thing. I was like, Felicity said a time and Eric Rasmussen said a time. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So, and it was so nice to, I think actually, Bruce, we met at Gimel 2015. So I think we had met before, but it's really nice to meet you, Eric Bluestine, and nice to meet you for the first time, Felicity. And I have a kiddo who's wanting me to take him skiing. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so
Cool. Yeah,
I can leave this open if you all want to continue, or do we want to
I
call it
want
a day?
breakfast.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to
Would you
breakfast.
guys like
Let's
to
all go
listen
out
to
to
a-
breakfast around the corner.
Would you guys like to listen to a 45-second excerpt of a piece from 1520 by a French composer that starts off in natural minor and cadences, as they always do, with a leading tone, resting tone in minor. The cadence, is a proper minor cadence, and then veers off just for a brief second into Dorian in a delightful way.
That would be wonderful.
Okay,
Yes, please.
because it's something that I love listening to, and it's really cool. And I thought you'd get a kick out of it. You guys would appreciate this. May I share it with you? Let me see how
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Let's end with music.
Host disabled, participant screen sharing. Okay.
Oh, here, I can,
Make him a host.
Okay. Thank you for indulging me.
of course. So can someone, does anybody know how to
So go to participants,
participants?
click on Eric
Okay.
and more. Oh no, shoot, that's not it.
We'll go down to
Oh, I'm not.
share screen.
I think yeah, and then click on
Share
Eric,
screen
and I
at the
think
bottom.
it's something there if you're the host already. I don't have it because I'm not hosting.
Make
Is there a
host.
share?
Okay, will I still get the recording that I can then share?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think you should be the host.
I am the host now. My goodness.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. So let's see if I know how to do this.
Who's the composer while you're?
The composer is Clément Jonaquin, a student of Saint-Depré.
Yeah.
And let me see, my goodness, if I am doing
My
this
favorite, I'm in a dance company, and my favorite piece that we do is it's three dancers. I get to be one of them. It's Chant des Oiseaux by Jonaquin. And it's just so
the
fun.
Chant des Oiseaux, the Song of the Birds.
Yes.
Marvelous piece.
Oh, I've danced with a million times. Maybe I'll share a little bit of our dance.
The bird calls it's in rondo form, and the bird calls are hysterical.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's
it's
written
supposed to be
500
funny.
years ago. It's
Yeah, the let's see, the choreographers' inspirations were James Brown, Jack from Will and Grace, Elvis, Tom Jones.
Wow.
And we're like wearing these like onesie suits. It's really funny. Okay.
let me see if this will even work. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear this. Are you hearing anything? Let me try one more time. Let me stop the share and start my share again, because the screens that are coming up are not quite.
Sometimes you have to click show the button for the check mark for show for sound audio.
Is it? Yeah, oh, okay. Well, how do I do that?
It's been a while.
Yeah. I'm not a Zoom person.
Well, you might want to just try this, see if it works.
Let me see. Share computer sound.
Oh,
Would
Yes.
that do it?
Yep.
that sounds right.
Okay. Let's see if you can hear this. If you can, please give me a thumbs up. You hear anything? So I'll pause it. Do you hear anything?
Yeah.
We can hear the music. Yeah.
Oh, you can. So
Yeah.
thumbs up.
I mean,
if you
I can hear
the
it.
music. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. Okay. So I know that so that you can hear it. So can I see this? If you can hear it, if you can hear it. Ready? Here I go.
I thought you meant give us a thumbs up when you hear the modulation.
Oh no, if you can hear the music, if you can hear the music, give me a
Okay.
thumbs up.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm not playing it just for myself.
Okay.
We can
Neat.
definitely see an
That's
example
beautiful.
of mixture. We're going to call
It's-
that mixture.
It cadences in harmonic minor.
Yeah.
So you have that that strong leading tone, resting tone. It's natural minor for most of it. But you have that Scarborough Fair raised sixth Dorian thing going on. It's just delightful. He's a wonderful composer.
Yeah.
Clément Jean.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And he probably wasn't thinking in tonality at all. Like theoretically, like naming.
No,
Right.
it was just
He's just music.
right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
oxygen, you know. It's
Well, that's a
breathing.
treat.
How far have we gotten away from people that can do that?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you, Elizabeth.
Thank
It's
you.
been
Thank you,
really nice.
everybody. It's just a
And,
spontaneous
very good.
thing, and it happened, and people came, and I learned so much.
Me
So
too.
I just want to double check. Is it okay if I'll I guess put this on my YouTube page, which doesn't have much, and put a link in the post. Is that okay
Mhm.
with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much.
Thanks. Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
To see
Yeah.
you
Good day.
guys.
Enjoy your week.
Been a
Likewise.
blast.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.